Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply Life. I'm Keith Casebolt. My dear friend across from me with a smile on his face, Gary C. Johnson. Good to see you.
Good to be seen, my friend, and it's wonderful. And today we're going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite subjects, standing in line, except I'm going to put a spin on it.
Okay, well, you talk about standing in line. Actually, you may be the best person I know and the happiest person I know that stands in line.
Well, you get to talk to all the people in line that would never talk to you otherwise,
Get
right?
to find out interesting information, meet people.
And they stand there so gloomy, so bored.
So if you smile, you're like a rock star because you're bringing a little bit of happiness to them while they're standing there waiting.
But the other line I'm going to talk about is this. And it's a little thing I picked up off the internet. And I saw it because it said standing in line.
Which is a favorite subject.
Yeah. And it was talking about the fact that we are all in line waiting to die.
Ouch.
Right?
I say ouch, but that's true. I mean, from the moment we're born, we're in line and the clock is ticking.
And your time's going to come.
Okay.
As you get older, you're up next or whatever.
Well, I hear that all the time. When someone passes away, they say, well, looks like we're on deck or we're next.
And you can't move to the back of the line.
I wish we could.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no way you ever get to step out of that line.
Nobody's done it yet.
And we cannot avoid being in that line, right?
And the one thing we don't want to do is jump line and get ahead of it.
Well, that is our big deal, is how to keep from jumping line.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you.
Right? So then the question that was asked after that, since we now know that we're all in the line, going toward our destination, and at some point we're going to die. The question they ask in this thing is, well, what are you going to do while you're waiting?
So let me picture this, Gary. So here we are, all the people on Earth. We're all in this big line, and here's the clouds and the blue sky leading up the stairwell, and we're all in this line shuffling toward the end in eternity.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't get out of the line. We can't go backwards. It's inevitable. We've got to stay in line. So what are we going to do?
Right, how are we going to deal with it?
I don't know.
So the suggestions in this little article I picked up was, the first one is, you better make every minute count.
Wow, we've talked about that.
As you're in line.
We've talked about that 1,000 times, haven't we?
Yep. The second little suggestion that this article has is, make your priorities and stick to them as you're standing in line.
I can understand that now.
The next one is, for the things that are important, make time for them.
Gary, that may be the most, and I don't know what the rest of them are, but that may be the most important one, because we have a habit of saying, one of these days.
Someday I will.
Someday I'll go spend time with a friend, or one of these days I'm going to take that vacation with the family, not realizing that we're still in that line and it's moving.
The next one on this list is, make your gifts and talents known. And how many times have we talked about the fact that everyone has a talent?
Listen, you just recently did a great television program on your talent. And you took the time to point out there's going to be some naysayers out there that says, Gary, I don't have a talent, but you look straight into the camera and you said, oh, yes, you do. We've just got to find it.
So, folks, those of you that are listening, my dear friends, you're giving us this 30 minutes of your time. So now we're trying to give you something for that.
Trying to make it worthwhile. Because
Hopefully,
you're standing in line and you've decided to listen to us for 30 minutes.
That's right, as you stand in line.
I got you. I'm with you.
Okay. The next one that they recommend here, as you're standing in line, make a nobody feel like a somebody. Except I disagree with that, because in my opinion, there's no such thing as a nobody.
Thank you. I agree with you. That should not be worded that way.
It should
be worded, make somebody always feel like somebody.
No, it should say, make someone that has been made feel unworthy know they're worthy. That's what they should say.
Yeah. Whether it be society, your peers, whoever it is. That's made you feel like a, quote, nobody.
That they've lost their worth.
That we need to make sure
make
you
them understand that they
true.
do have worth.
And this goes back to the 10 things that makes your body a miracle that you read.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be a nobody when you listen to
it's
that
impossible.
program. When you listen about your fingerprints and all the things you read, there's no way you can be a nobody. You're a unique somebody.
That's right.
I get it.
The next little recommendation in this article is make your voice heard.
You know what? How many times has there been people who should have spoke up that didn't?
The next one is make the small things big. Now, what does that mean? I think what they're saying is it's like being there.
Uh-huh.
And it may be some small thing you are doing in your mind. Make it more than what it is. For yourself, for your own benefit.
But does it also include, because I listened to an interview the other day about a multi-millionaire rich actor, and they were asking something important in his life. And he talked about the time that he was sharing a little one-room studio apartment and how he and his friend would share one cup of soup because that's all they had. Now, that was a little thing.
Mm-hmm.
But here, all these years later...
It was a big thing.
It was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so important.
Okay, the next little recommendation here as we stand in line is make someone smile.
Contagious, isn't it?
And it may be just leaving. or shutting your mouth. But there's all kinds of ways you can make people smile, right?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be fun-going and pleasant. It may be that you don't agitate them or bother them.
That's right.
But, when I was growing up...
They may be smiling when they see you leave or whatever.
Now, we talk about old sayings all the time. When I was growing up as a kid, my dad always used to say, it's going to be really difficult for someone to get mad at you if you're smiling at them. Isn't that a defense mechanism?
Mm-hmm. That's right. So make somebody smile.
One way or the other.
One way or the other. The next one is neat, because we've talked about it on the program before. Make the change you know you need to make as you're waiting in line.
Gary, out of the percentage of people that have come to you for your wisdom in life and said, Gary, what should I do? What is the percentage of the people who already knew the right thing to do?
Most people know exactly what they need to do without asking anyone else what they need to do. Now, if they are looking for validation in order to stay in a situation they shouldn't be in, then they will go ask someone else's advice.
And when you say looking for validation, is that because of the fear factor? They want to say, well, if it didn't work and I was wrong, it's not my fault. Gary told me that I should stay the course, or Gary told me I should try to do this or go in business or whatever.
I'm going to share with my friends a phenomenon that I noticed, and it may be that it's really not one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I started practicing law years ago, I did some domestic work, divorces and things of that nature. And I noticed a trend. To me, it was a trend, and I may be wrong on this.
It was just your experience.
It's just that if someone has done me wrong, Keith,
mm-hmm.
and they are a significant other or someone that's in my life, and I can go to you and get you to talk about them with me, and you badmouth them,
mm-hmm.
then I can switch my mindset to defending them.
Okay, let me think about this, because
It's really complicated.
This is pretty deep. So I've had some acquaintances or friends that have broken up with their girlfriend at the time, and they've come over and said, she did this, she did that. And then, of course, being a buddy, we've chimed in and said, oh, I can't believe she did you that way. You ought to get rid of her, blah, 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 blah. Only for a month later to find out they're back together and they got married.
And they're mad at you. Both of them.
My goodness. You have uncovered a mystery of the world.
No, I'm just sharing this with my friends for whatever it's worth. So if somebody's trying to get you to get into their problem,
yeah,
and badmouth someone and be part of it and whatever, be careful, is what I'm saying, because I found there's a transference that can go on there.
So explain that to me. So the deed is, if
I understood it, I'd be wealthier. I mean, I don't understand it.
But if I can transfer the hatred to someone else and have them say it, then I can forgive that party and I can go on?
I don't know what the mental thing is.
I know you're right, because I've experienced it in my life.
So I'm just passing that on to my friends to think about. If somebody's got you in that situation right now where you're the one that they're trying to get to be the transferor or transferee,
now you know what you
beware is all I can say.
Now you know what you've done. This upcoming week, some friend is going to come to another friend and say, hey, my girl's done me wrong. And now we got to say, if I were you, I'd forgive her.
That's right.
I'd go back. You guys might even get married. Because if you don't, then the next time you meet them, neither one of them's going to talk to you.
And then he's going to tell her what you said.
Hey, I was willing.
As though you were the one that said it instead of him.
So, Gary, I was willing to forgive you. Gary wouldn't forgive you.
No, it wasn't that. We're just talking, you know.
We're just having a good time.
Just for the fun of talking. So, and there may not be any basis for what I've just said, folks. So take it for a grain of thought.
I have a funny feeling our friends right now are getting a good laugh out of this, because I understand what you're saying. It's a transfer of the anger.
And it was just a trend that I noticed. So I started keeping my mouth shut.
Now, wait a minute. Does that go back to the old saying that I can badmouth my children or I can badmouth my wife, but you better not?
That's not it at all.
But does it get you over it?
It's a need, so almost like a need that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Because deep down we know what we're going to do. But if we can get somebody else to transfer that to, so we can go do it then, it doesn't make it, it's really extremely complicated from a psychological standpoint, what I'm trying to talk about.
It's enough for me.
I don't understand it myself. It's just something that I've noticed over the years that happens.
It's enough for me to wonder about.
That's right. Like Einstein, it's enough for me to just wonder. Okay. The next one is make up and make peace.
Amen.
Every time. Because you're in line.
Yep.
You don't have 1 minute to waste being mad at someone. You don't have 1 minute to waste being angry. You have no time while you wait in line for that.
You know, I told a story the other night on the television. I had no idea that my wife was listening to you and listening to this program, but the other day we were just about ready to get into an argument, and she said, listen, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to say something. You're going to say something. I'm going to say something horrible. You're going to say something horrible. I'm going to get mad. You're going to get mad. We're going to go 4 days pouting, and then we're going to make up. What do you say we just skip all that and make up? And I said, oh, my goodness. You have been listening to Gary.
That's right.
So we skipped the week of saying horrible things and pouting and not talking, and we went straight to the makeup.
Yep.
Makeup was pretty fun.
Yeah. Why not? Absolutely. The next one, as you're waiting in line, and for those that may have just tuned in, we're talking about waiting in line, and the line being the fact that you're waiting in line to someday you're going to die. And it'll be your turn as you're waiting in line.
And you're going to do the big exit of the planet, and there you go.
Right. The next one, they said, as you're waiting in line, is to make sure to tell your people they are loved. That is so critical.
And unfortunately, Gary, most of us wait until the last moment. And we shouldn't do that. We don't need to be on the last step in that line before we turn around and try to tell all the people that matter to us how much they matter.
That's right. So do it today.
While you're in line.
While you're in line. And while you still are in line.
And you got time.
Because you may not be in line tomorrow.
No, the line does come to an end.
Yeah. And the next one is simply this. Go to any lengths to make sure you have no regrets as you're waiting in line.
Whew. Now, what about that?
That would have been a good one to have a few years ago before I had regrets.
What was the old cowboy that had the quote, "When my time comes, I hope I'm all tuckered out and I slide into the grave going, whew, what a ride. Boy, that was something."
Mm-hmm.
And that was his way of saying,
no regrets.
No regrets. I did it all. I saw it all. I did everything I could do, and I used up every minute of that dash that you talk about.
As I wait in line.
As I was waiting in line.
And the last one on the list as you're waiting in line is probably the most profound one of all. Make sure you're ready.
Yeah.
If you do all those other things that we talked about, you'll be ready.
So if you don't have any regrets and you've told all the people that are important to you in your life and you've accomplished all those things,
mm-hmm.
then
you made your priorities, you made everything count,
mm-hmm.
You've used your talents, you will have no regrets. You'll be ready.
I admire people that could do that. And
what do you mean? That's you, isn't it?
Well, I'm working on it.
Oh, okay.
But I had a dear friend that at the end of the line come a lot quicker than it should have. But I'll never forget talking to him at the end. And he was so humble and so thankful. And he said, "What a wonderful life this has been." And I thought to myself, this is a guy that just did everything that you talked about on this list. He wasn't upset. He wasn't mad. He wasn't angry. He was thankful for the amount of time he stood in that line.
And that's what we lose sight of, my friends. If you're listening to this program, you're definitely in line. Now, what are you going to do as you stand in line? That's the issue.
And Gary is the point that there might be individuals that stood in that line for 90 years and didn't do any of those things. And what a miserable time it was standing in that line.
You see people that are absolutely, totally miserable because they do none of this. They're in line. And they're going to come to the end of the line, just like we all are. And the question is, how do we use this dash, this little limited amount of time we have as we're standing in line? Are we happy? Do we understand that we're unique in the sense that the good Lord made us, and He made us special because nobody else is like us?
Are you making people smile?
Are you making people smile? Are you happy? Do you look at the cup and say, boy, that thing's still half full, instead of the fact it's half empty?
Yes.
You know.
So I hope there's no one out there right now going, "Gary, none of that stuff will work." Of course, it will all work.
Everything in your world is inside of your brain. That's where you live. That's where you are. No other place. Now, you can control what's inside of your brain to a great extent through your attitude.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally control how you choose to look at what's going on around you. Once you understand that the best of all worlds is to look at what's going on around you and choose to look at it in a positive light instead of negative. Now, it may be negative. So what? Who cares?
I can't tell you how many people I've had ask me, "Have you really bought into all this?" And I say, "Yes, I have." And they say, "Why?" It's because it feels good.
It feels better.
And they say, "So you don't get angry?" I say, I haven't been angry at anybody. I might get upset with myself every now and then for breaking some of the rules, but I don't get angry at anybody else. And then they ask the question, "Well, what if somebody's tried to do you wrong?" Well, they probably had a reason for it, and it was probably to their benefit. So I don't even get angry over that.
And there was no reason to take it personal.
Why would I do that?
Right.
They're trying to help themselves. So
Everything that everyone does is because they think it's what they ought to do at the time, or they wouldn't do it.
I've even had somebody tell me, you know what, you've lost your mind. You're crazy for feeling that way. And I said, well, even if I have, it feels good. It's better to be happy and be relaxed and enjoy your surroundings. And I can tell our friends this. Gary and I, whenever we do the program, we like to have a cup of coffee, and we just talk about life, and we talk about human nature, and we sit here and have a laugh and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It is a wonder to see what's going on around you.
It's an amazing trip that we're making. And the line we're in will come to an end.
You know, I wish they had
one. The question is, my friends, is how do you deal with it today?
I wish they'd had one more thing on that about the standing in line. And that would be when it came your turn to get out of line, all the people behind you would have said, whew, we're sure going to miss him. He was a ball of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been another good thing to have in that article.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we all want to say.
Well, it should have. I would have put in there, have fun.
Yeah.
Be happy. I'd put in there, never criticize, condemn, and complain. I'd put in there, to the best you can, be impeccable with the word. As you stand in line.
You sure don't want people to say, I didn't think he would ever get out of this line.
I would say, please make sure that you don't make assumptions that get you in trouble. Don't assume anything.
Sure.
All of those things that would make your trip, as you're standing in line and going forward, a little easier for you. They all need to be in there.
Everybody in that line.
And number one, I'd put, don't forget the 24-hour rule as you're standing in line.
Well, what I love about this article, I'm looking at Gary's page right now, and there is this unbelievable long line of people, all dressed in blue robes, standing in line, and they're going up the staircase. So it's giving you the visual of where we all are. Mm-hmm. We're in this line. And all these tips are saying, if you're going to be in the line, you might as well enjoy yourself and have a good time while you're there.
I think what they're saying visually here, with all these people in line going up the staircase, is if you do these things, you'll probably go up the staircase instead of down the staircase.
So there should be another picture on the end with the escalator going down.
Yeah, if you don't do these things.
If you don't try to do these, you're not going up the staircase. You're going down the escalator.
I think
that is pretty funny, my friend. That is pretty funny. Gary, that's a great lesson for all of us. And you know what? Here's the key, I think. This week, somehow, some way, we're going to be standing in line somewhere. We're either going to be at the grocery store, the gas station. We're going to be going to the ball game. We're going to be somewhere, but we're going to be standing in line.
Right.
And if we can remember, while we're standing there, the tips you just gave us, I think we'll have a good time.
And turn around and talk to the people that's in line with you there on those lines.
Yeah.
Chat with them.
So that's the short line that we're in.
Right.
So if we can accomplish that in the short line, we'll be doing it in the long line.
Well, remember, how many times have I said it on this program, my friends? Be happy. Don't let the world get you down. Don't buy into this misery. And if you're in a situation where you're totally miserable, use your brain that the good Lord give you and figure a way out of it. Because you can. You can. You're like the little engine that could. You can.
Yeah. And I've got to tell you, if you're in the Walmart and there's 6 lines and you see Gary over in one line or you see me, get out of the line you're in and come on over. Yeah. We'll talk and have a good time.
We'll talk and we'll be at the end of the line before you know it.
You'll enjoy yourself a lot more because we are determined to keep these steps in line.
Absolutely. No question about it. And there's a simple reason for it. It feels good.
What a great lesson.
And I much rather feel good than bad. I mean, to me, there's no question.
Amen to that.
And if I can look at something that would make me feel bad and figure out a way to make me feel good looking at it, I'm going to figure out the way to make me feel good.
I would rather be in line with 6 people over here laughing and talking than be standing in a line with one other person and nobody speaking and being miserable. Wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
What a great lesson.
Because we all live on this rock together. We're all here together. And the only thing that makes it worthwhile is the fact that we are together.
And we want to go up the staircase, not down the escalator.
Yep.
My friend, thank you for the lesson. You can catch Gary's television show on Tuesday nights, WYMT, your CBS affiliate, 7 o'clock. Late night replay is on CBS WKYT in Lexington and your ABC WTVQ. If you need to get in touch with Gary at his office, that's Gary at GaryCJohnson.com. And in today's hectic world, he's made it easy for you. Just pull out your cell phone and hit pound hurt. Pound hurt will ring right in. My friend, this was a fun show.
We're standing in line.
And Gary and I look forward to standing in line with you. Until next week, Gary and I really appreciate you tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you right here at this same time.